Check out some of the details, some of the indiscrepancies, if you will, some of the anomalies of what goes on in producing a record. So why don't we start? So what I'm going to play you is where it all started. One afternoon, 2007, in a small studio in New Jersey. Myself and Stephanie Germanata sit down to write a song. And it starts with the piano. She's sitting at the piano. I'm sitting at an MPC drum machine. And she starts playing this. Sounds kind of boring. But she tells me that somebody at the record label, she's now signed to Interscope, wants her to write a song called Paparazzi. She wants to write a song about the paparazzi. The pictures, the life. It's not long after that the incident with Princess Di happened. Personally, I'm not interested in a song about writing a song about the paparazzi, because I can give a shit. So I say to her, what if the paparazzi could be a love song? Aren't we all obsessed at some point? Don't we want to know everything that's going on with somebody who we care about, who we love, or we think we love? Aren't we all fans in one way or another? So she starts playing these chords. And I press record to a click track in Logic at 1:15. Click track in Logic is K as the shortcut. So I give her the click track. And Stephanie's not so great with the click track. But I love her anyway. So she puts the chords down. And we start from here with nothing but a concept of writing a song about the paparazzi. This would be the last song I write with Stephanie Germanata on our journey. So I indulge. And I sit at a drum machine. Because this needs a groove. Because right now in the session, our last session, myself and Lady Gaga, I'm bored. And I know that we're done. The creative relationship is done. This will be it. But give it your best. So, I start with a kick drum. Kind of boring. It's actually kind of a lame sounding kick drum that I would never use in a production. But you know what? It was on the pad. It was in the MPC, and it started something. This is what we had for about an hour. And no exaggeration, myself and Stephanie just sat in a room listening to this for about an hour with no inspiration. Then, one more element takes hold. A snare drum. In my arsenal of sounds, I find a snare drum. That's the snare. But you know what? It's not really a snare drum if you look at it. It's got something else to it. It's got this. It's got another element to it. It's got this little up beat thing. At this point, I'm thinking, we're going nowhere. We got nothing. But we let this play. The three elements in Logic. The piano, the kick drum, and the snare. And we start singing over it. And you know what? There's a million melodies you could sing over this. A million. But she's so eager to please her label that it's got to be paparazzi. Paparazzi is not a great word to say. But some artists have to please the label. And as a producer, a writer, whatever it is that you want to do, you got to give the artist what they want. Got to figure it out. So we sit for an hour and a half listening to this beat as it loops in Logic. So take note, the piano sound that exists on the record is Logic piano that comes with the sampler. Nothing changed about it. So as we're waiting to find some inspiration about what this song could be or where we can go with it, to indulge, I add another part to the drums. I add some claps, but not these claps, because that seems done, right? Why 2 and 4 with the snare? We've heard that a million times. I add something that, if I solo it, it doesn't really make any sense. And honestly, it didn't make any sense to me when I did it. But the MPC drum machine has something called note repeat. So when you hold note repeat on the drum machine, you just sporadically hit the pad where the claps are, and something random happens. Most of the time it's garbage. Somehow this day, this was garbage, but garbage that worked. Somehow it created a syncopation that was off enough whereby it fits the artist. And remember, when you're producing for an artist, you're not producing or you're not creating for you. You're creating for the artist. And something about this artist, Lady Gaga, there was something sloppy about her. So you can't make a track that's perfect. You make a track, you make a feel that actually looks like the artist. So when I look at her, I can't perfect everything, because she's not perfect. She's scattered. She's messy. She's talented, but she's not Britney. In Logic, in any software program for sequencing, you can quantize. Quantize means making the timing perfect. And that's easy to do. My 5-year-old nephew can do that. So what? What's more interesting is to not quantize. For me, Gaga was the perfect artist not to quantize anything. The drums had to be loose. She was loose. Sloppy. When you don't quantize the drums, anything can happen. Now you feel like there's a live element going on. It almost feels like it's tripping over itself. If you listen to these 3 elements, they feel like they're tripping over themselves. They don't feel tight. These drums are not quantized. With the technology that's offered, sequencing softwares, it's so easy to quantize and make everything sound perfect and tight. And it sounds really good initially. But then, it doesn't sound good. Our ears like loose. Our ears like off. You just don't realize it. The Beatles are a great example of off. The production, the timing was off. We lost that, especially in dance music. We lost loose, off. Donna Summer, Gloria Gaynor, the greats, Chic. There was no quantize. It didn't exist. It's too easy. When it's too easy in life, it's wrong. Trust me. You can quantize, but if you're going to quantize one thing, maybe two, the kick and snare. But you know what? I want to hear how you play all the other elements without the quantize, because the way you play them is your personality, and that's what you have. That's what John Lennon had. That's what Ringo had. Ringo Starr of the Beatles. Not the best drummer of all time, but probably the best drummer of all time. Because he had a style. Don't fix it. It's too easy with the technology to fix it. And you play your part, and then you quantize it, and you're happy. It's perfect. No. So this pattern goes on for about an hour with myself and Gaga. And it looks bleak. It looks really bleak. Because a song about a paparazzi, I don't want to write a song about people taking pictures and that glam life. So as we're waiting for inspiration to strike, I add another part. So one of my favorite records at the time was the record by Bob Deep, which there was an 808 kick drum that just basically just did this. Pretty much straight through. And there's a couple missing ones by mistake. But my intention was just do an 808 kick drum straight through. It adds the sub bass that the record might need. It helps for the clubs. We all know that 808 drums work in the clubs. But it's too simple and too easy to follow this kick drum with the 808. Boom, 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 boom. So in my inspiration of Mobb Deep, I keep the 808 kick drum just riding through. So over the regular kick, it sounds like this. So now you really can't get the magnitude of that 808 kick drum in here because there's really not a subwoofer. But when that's in the clubs, that shit's making you feel like it's a war going on. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and it's moving through your chest. Because at this point, I'm very much into, why do we need a bass synth or a bass guitar in this? Why can't the 808, like the Mobb Deep record, handle the sub? And that's all the 808 does through the whole track. It never changes. It's a pulse. It's a heartbeat. There's got to be a heartbeat in the track. At this point, Gaga says to me, "You want to get something to eat?" Because I think we're both a little lost. But we got this. So we put the elements together. The piano. The clap, snare. And I think by that, it gives enough inspiration to start hearing something. The great thing about Logic is that take this and you loop it. So you take your cursor, you drag it over 8 bars, and you loop it until something comes. So now, I'm not really happy with the piano sound. So what are some things you could do with the piano sound that you're not happy with? Well, there's probably a million, but let's do one together. So we'll copy the piano to another track. One thing I always say, distortion is your friend. So, one of my favorite plugins in Logic is the distortion that it comes with. So let's call it up. Real simple. Distortion. And the beauty of it, it's a simple plugin. You really can't screw it up. So the great thing about distortion is you could use it as an add-on, another element. So watch. I'm going to take the track that I copied. I'm going to add a little distortion to it from the Logic distortion plugin. Now don't be mistaken. It's not about level. Be careful with that. It's not about making it louder. So bring it down. Don't make it louder. Now watch. Solo the distortion. Hear it? But make it more drastic. Make it obvious. Because all you're going to do is tuck it under there. Hear it? It's starting to get distorted. Mangled. Mangle it more. Maybe bring some of the tone down, play with the tone here, which brings some of the high end down. Now it starts to sound like an amp, almost like a Fender amp, which is not a bad thing in the digital world, because it's so hard to get analog sound in a digital world. But you know what? The other nice thing about, say, a Fender amp, it's got a little slap back. So we take a bus, right? And a bus just sends the signal out to another place. So take bus for now, bus 3, right? And it sends it to another place in Logic where we could manipulate the sound again. So now I take the distortion signal, I take bus 3 to send it somewhere. I want to send bus 3 into a little reverb, into a little slapback. Because the Fender amps all had slapback delays on them. So why not mimic it? It's already there. The template is there. So we take our delay, our tape delay, right? Now a slapback delay is a very quick delay and it hits once. It's not like a delay where it goes dun 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 dun. It's just a dun dun. It's a very quick dun dun. So I'm going to look for a very short delay that makes this feel like it's almost doubled. It's hitting twice. All it does is make it bigger. So that's with it, and this is without it. It's subtle, but the beauty of it is you take this delay and you pan it. You pan it to one side, so you can hear it on the right speaker. Now, as I move the delay time up, it makes it more obvious of the double. Watch. Hear the bam, bam. But that's a little too late. I want it a little more subtle. So I start bringing it down. So it basically doubles the signal. But you know what? That's not enough. So we take another bus and we send it out to a longer delay. So let's pick a delay that's longer. We go to the logic delay. And we echo. So we'll send this delay. Now you have a delay that's doing this. So you got one short delay that's just going da-dum, and you have one that's going. But to create space in the track, let's put one delay on one side and one on the other. And the pan is here. Now we tuck that into our piano. All of a sudden the piano has a different sustain, it has a different element. It lasts longer. That's with it, this is without it. This is with it. There's more depth. Now granted, it sounds a little harsh, but when you start tucking it into the track, it doesn't anymore. So be careful about soloing instruments. It's all about how it fits into the track. So here's our elements of Paparazzi. Now notice something about this 808 kick that we spoke about previously. It doesn't follow any tonality in the track. So it's not trying to change the chords. It's not trying to sound like it belongs. In that, it creates tension. It doesn't feel pretty. And again, gotta go with the artist. There was something about Gaga that was not pretty. Talented, but not pretty. Why make a pretty track for an artist who's not technically pretty? Sure, beautiful in the talent and in her own persona, but not sweet. So when working with an artist or a film or what have you, it's looking at the product. It's looking at the visual and trying to be that in the music. Everything can't be what you want it to be. It has to be that vision, that image. It has to be that thing that fits them. Otherwise, the artist or the film or the director is not going to get it. So, for me, in creating this track, this underlying driving 808 drum that technically made no sense, made all the sense in the world. Could I have done this for, say, Britney? No. That wouldn't have worked. It would have to have be more in line with the artist. And it would have to be tighter. And it would have to change and be a little bit more cohesive. Gaga was not that kind of artist. To go back to the piano, Gaga played this piano, and I struggled for a few days after she played it to fix it, because it was sloppy, and not sloppy in a bad way, but it was sloppy in the right way, if that makes sense. It was her. Why fix something that's somebody's personality? It's like saying to somebody, I don't like your hair, fix it. It's you. You do your hair because that's you. The way she played this piano, right or wrong, was her. And I wanted her personality on the track. So leave the piano. Sure, could I have quantized it, made it perfect? Yeah. But then I lose the Gaga. So we've got the piano. We got the kick. And we got our clap. Honestly, in production, if those elements can't exist alone without anything else, you don't have it. This technically could have been the record. Everything else from here is icing on the cake. So this is what we have, and we start writing a lyric. And Gaga sits with her pad, I sit with my pad, and we both write what we feel Paparazzi, the song, should be. And we sit there in silence for about 2 hours, and then we exchange pads. And quite frankly, neither of us have it. It's not it. She's written a song about the paparazzi itself. I went to love song with it. But the magic was, it lied in the middle, somewhere. And sometimes it's compromise. Sometimes it's just letting it be what it is and letting someone else take the forefront. You have to let the artist take the forefront. You have to let the artist own it. You have to let the artist be who they are, because they're the ones, night after night, who have to go out and perform it. I don't. She would have to live with this song for 20, 30, 50 years. So how can I tell her what she should be singing? I can't. So sometimes you compromise. And I think working creatively, I have found that my biggest attribute is compromise and being humble. And although I might think my idea is the better one, so what? 100% of 0 is 0. And I think knowing your role in what you're doing is everything. It's not about you. And I learned that the hard way, because I had done a song with Destiny's Child and Beyonce. I wrote a song called Bootylicious in early 2000s, and I was offended when I had seen an interview with Beyonce speaking with Barbara Walters. And she had went on to tell Barbara Walters about how she came up with the idea and the concept for the track and the music and the Stevie Nicks loop. And I was so up in arms. I was so offended. I was beyond myself. And I had reached out to Beyonce's father at the time, who was managing her, and I was livid. I said, I don't understand this. Like, why? I mean, she was on Barbara Walters. She couldn't even say. It wasn't about mentioning my name. It was about, she couldn't even say she co-wrote it or co-produced it. And he said to me, he said, it's not about you. He said, people need to believe that the artist is the force. The artist is the one, the embryo. The artist grows the flower. They don't care about you. And you know what? It hurt. But you know what? It put me in my place. And I started to realize that this might be true. It's not about me. It's about your role. If you're going to produce and write or do music or film or whatever it is you want to do, it's not about you. It's about the product. It's about the end result. This music, this business is not about money. It's not about fame. If you're in it for fame, money, it's time to get out. If you're in it for music, then you're in the right place. And it was one more lesson for me with Gaga. Because we all want to be part of something great. We all want to enjoy the fruits of our labor. But sometimes the fruits of our labor come in the ways we don't expect. They come internally. And you find peace. And you know what you did. You know your part. And sometimes people will say, yes, you were part of it. Sometimes people will say, I don't remember you. Do I know you? And you're going to have to accept that. And you move on, and you keep going. Why? Because you love to create. I think everyone's here tonight because there's a love, there's a passion to do something greater. If you're here to be famous, good luck. You might be in the interim, but that's the icing on the cake. Do you want to do music? Do you want to create? Or do you want to be famous? That's the question. So here's what we have. Gaga goes home. Because we can't write a song for shit. So Gaga comes in the next day, and she says, I have an idea for a synth line. So I say, absolutely. Sit at the keyboard and play your synth line. I'm excited. Here's the line. So now I'm thinking, we're really fucked. That was the line. So, as a producer, I say, let's lay it down. Why not? So I record the synth line in Logic. So now, we have this. Now I gotta tell you, at this point, I'm thinking this may be one of the sloppiest productions I've ever done. Nothing's quantized. And in Logic, quantizing a track is, it's one push of a button. But you know what? I can't. Because there's something about the personality of the timing being so off that when I look at Gaga, it just makes sense. Like I look at her and something about it being so jaggedy fits her personality. I'm like, how do I quantize this and make it sound like what, Daft Punk? That's not gonna fit her. So everything in me is saying, I know it will sound better if I take the tools that Logic offers me and I quantize at least some of these tracks. I mean, the drums aren't even quantized. Honestly, I start to sound like, I start to feel like my nephew did the track. Like my 8-year-old nephew. And I'm like, this is horrid. But you know what? One thing I always come back to is the Beatles. The Beatles. When you study these Beatles records, they're loose. They're jagged. Technically, they're not right. Sonically, they're not right. Nothing's right about them, but then everything is right about them. You know why? One reason why. A song changes everything. You can get caught up in producing, perfecting, using everything that Logic or any software has to offer. And you know what you got at the end of the day? A track. You got a track. This was about to become a song. So here's what happens next. I'm all about, when I write, I want to start with the hook. Because I always say to myself, if we don't have a hook, we don't have anything. I don't want to hear a great verse. Don't sing me a great verse. Sing me a hook. So myself and Gaga somehow are able to compromise on her singing half my hook and her singing half of hers. And this is what we get. So that's what we start with. So I think I'm changing the game by saying to her, no auto-tune. Everyone else is using auto-tune. We're not doing auto-tune. So this is Gaga with no auto-tune on 2 takes, and I'll give her that. That's it. The child is born. Something changed inside the whole track when that was sung over that music. When you take that vocal out, honestly, garbage. Like, what is that? What is that? That's not a track. You gonna play it in the club? Not at all. But you add the vocal. That vocal is literally Gaga singing the hook twice. So she doubles herself. So when you do a vocal, to thicken it up, you sing it again. And what happens is the imperfections thicken it, and it choruses it, and it makes it feel bigger. It makes it feel wider. That's 2 tracks of Gaga singing the hook. The record is 2 tracks of Gaga singing the hook. This record was Beatles style. We went back and we took from the greats. If they could do it, why can't we do it in 2006? It worked then. It could work now. Now look, needless to say, after this record was done, everyone else who came in, production-wise, did all their tricks. The auto-tune was there. The 2010 was there. The edits were there. But there were no edits. This was the raw artist. It wasn't me tweaking, shifting, fixing. It was a raw artist. And it has to start with a raw artist. Because all the tricks in the world can only lead to one thing: a gimmick. So whatever it is you do, find the raw in it all. A program like Logic could do a bazillion things. But if you find the raw part of it, everything else you do is icing on the cake. Raw talent, raw emotion. You. Whatever, what is it that you do? Put it in here. Put it in Logic. Let it live. Perfect it. Modify it. Sure. But people want raw. And now we have the technology to be raw. This was the raw Gaga. What you hear in these 5 parts is the record. There's nothing else in that record. I just gave you 5 tracks. 5 tracks. And it's a record. And a #1 record. What? What do you want to do? You want to show the heart, the soul? You want to hide behind the technology? You don't have to. The beauty of it is everyone has that. You just have to tap into it. That's it. Thanks for having me.
Let's go ahead and thank Rob again. We also want to thank you guys for coming out tonight as well and being here this evening. Don't forget to check out the Apple Store app so you can see what things we're doing here at the store. Also go to apple.com/Soho to see what's happening. We hope to see you guys again. Thank you so much and have a great night.